guys? Welcome back to this week's episode of Outside the Arena with Mac and Griff. I'm Griffin Senyek, joined by my co-host, as always, Mac Rommel. And today, we've got another special episode on our hands. We're going to be really focusing on the NFL draft today. I know the MLB season is approaching. We're going to be doing a lot of MLB stuff next week. Opening day is going to kick off this week. But we felt that, with the current events in the NFL offseason, it'd be best to really, make this a more draft-themed episode. As well as we got a big guest coming soon too. So that'll kind of be, future for the next few weeks or so. But today, big news in the NFL world. And that's kind of what we're going to focus on before we go into our third mock drafts of the off season. We'll be rolling those out. But first, we are going to discuss the big trade, which, I'm going to play a big part in the mock drafts. Miami Dolphins, Philadelphia Eagles, 49ers, basically make a 3-team trade. Essentially, you could phrase it that way. Miami moves from 3 to 6. Niners move from 12 to 3, and Eagles move from 6 to 12. The Dolphins also garner a 2023 first-round pick from San Francisco, a 2022 first-round pick, I guess, from San Francisco, and then they trade they traded their first. I'm trying to think of the. All right, so the Eagles received the Dolphins' first-round pick this year. They received the 12th pick this year, their first-round pick next year. Miami received the Miami has a 6th pick and then the 2 firsts for the next 2 years for the 49ers. There we go. We got it down. The trade details are it's a lot to dive into, but moral of the story, Niners up to 3, Miami down to 6, and Philly back to 12. So Mac, what are your thoughts on this deal? Obviously the 49ers clearly have a plan at 3, probably a quarterback. I don't think they're trading up there to draft, Kyle Pitts, because they obviously have George Kittle. They're not going up for a receiver. And, I don't think Penei Sewell is quite the need for them. So clearly they're going to be picking a quarterback. They love a quarterback there. So, what are your thoughts on this deal for, you can touch on any of the teams, however much you want, but clearly, big deal for the 49ers and for the Dolphins, just continued excellence in terms of some of these trades.
Yep, the 49ers are obviously trading up for their quarterback of the future. And I guess the main thing to look out for here is that the 49ers, they're saying if they want to keep Jimmy Garoppolo, he will be there for this 2021 season. So you're looking at a guy who will likely be a bench player, a guy who's a backup behind Jimmy G for at least this season, and for who knows how long. Maybe he could overtake Jimmy Garoppolo as the season goes along. But right now you're looking at a guy that can come in, sit behind Jimmy G. My gosh, my throat's a little raspy, but sit behind Jimmy and then come in eventually later in the season or in the following season to play for the 49ers. So obviously they're coming up for the quarterback of the future. Dolphins, I think they easily win this trade. They gain a first-round pick, and you're obviously most likely going to be getting the same player that you would be looking at the 3rd overall pick. Oh my gosh, my throat. But for the Eagles, it's a mess. This mess of an organization. Of course, next year you'll have 3 first-round picks, but this year you're not going to be getting that number 1 receiver you want. Every year you've been looking for that number 1 receiver. Last year, Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. You messed that up. This year, you had the 6th overall pick. If this trade didn't happen, Miami could have taken Jamar Chase at 3. You could have Devonta Smith or Jalen Waddle at 6. But now that that's all changed and you have the 12th pick, you're most likely not going to end up with any of those guys. You're most likely going to have to look for a guy on defense or even offensive line, whatever it may be. But Eagles, they're obviously looking to rebuild this year. They're obviously going to be terrible. But next year's when they're hoping to load up and make a difference on this aging roster.
Yeah. The one thing I disagree with on you about your end is I don't think the quarterback the 49ers is going to draft is necessarily going to sit behind Jimmy G all year. I think, he's going to be almost, if not starting week 1, but, really up there. I don't think you trade up for a guy at 3 and you bench him. I don't think that makes sense. It's just historically it's just not really happened. You trade up to, you trade all these assets and they clearly have their guy. So maybe he'll sit behind him for half the year, but I really can't see him not playing a snap this year or not getting more than half the season starting. That doesn't make sense to me, but clearly Niners have a plan. They're going all in. You don't trade, 3 first-round picks to move up to this spot without drafting clearly a franchise quarterback. So they clearly see something, whether it's Justin Fields, whether it's Trey Lance. I doubt it's Mac Jones. I don't think they trade up for him all the way to number 3. So clearly,
if it's Mac Jones, what a story that would be.
That would be a clear reach. But Justin Fields, Trey Lance, clearly it's one of those guys, in my eyes, So we'll see which one. I don't know who you have in your mock. I know who I have. I'm not going to spoil it. But for Miami, like you said, they're getting their guy that they wanted. Philadelphia, or not Philadelphia, Cincinnati. That fourth pick, I expect to get traded to another team. Foreshadowing it that a quarterback, one of whoever doesn't get picked at 3. I think first 4 picks in this draft are going to be quarterbacks, which is crazy. You can't say that too often. So the 5th pick, the Bengals, I don't think they're taking a wide receiver necessarily. I think, they're really going to be either Kyle Pitts, Penei Sewell, one of those 2 guys. So Miami really gets their first choice of wide receiver, which is what they would have gotten at 3. That's what they would have drafted there. You could have argued they could take Penei Sewell. But for me, this is the one thing that makes interesting about it, this trade for Miami. To me, it takes them out of Deshaun Watson and the running for him. And I just think it makes it all the more likely that Deshaun Watson is not going to be traded this year. The only team for me that's left for Deshaun Watson is really the Carolina Panthers. To me, every other contender that was interested in him, to me, really has kind of set their plans and has their set sight on something else. For me, the Carolina Panthers are that only team really that remains. Maybe the Denver Broncos, but clearly San Francisco has a plan. We just saw that, and they were rumored to Deshaun wants to go there. Denver is a team, but I just don't see that happening. And I guess Carolina is really the only one left. So it really looks likely that Deshaun's going to be a Texan, which is just the situation is just crazy there. But yeah, I think Miami will get their guy that they wanted 6. And then for the Eagles, this move can go one of 2 ways. I think they need a wideout at 6, and maybe that's a little too early. So they get some draft capital back, which I like. This deal, I think it has the potential to really work out for them, but it also has the potential to be a complete failure depending on what some of these teams take. If those top 3 receivers and Kyle Pitts are all off the board when they're picking, it's going to be a colossal failure in my eyes. They need to land one of those guys still. That's key for them. So if they can't get one of those guys, they're going to be in trouble. But if they do, it's a good trade for them. So only time will tell, I think, with the Eagles on this one. I think it depends, who falls, who's on the board at 12. But overall, Niners have their plan. Dolphins, win this trade. And, Eagles, time will tell.
Yep, each team has their plan. Eagles next year going to have 3 first-round picks, so that's obviously going to be a huge storyline depending on where those picks end up. If it's top of the first round, boy, oh boy, the Eagles will be set up really well for the future. Dolphins, we know how good they're going to be. And the 49ers, if they get this quarterback of the future and they hit on this pick, I mean, the 49ers are going to be right back in that Super Bowl contention as they were just last year.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. And, who knows what's going to happen. And, that's a crazy thing. If this move, doesn't, Jimmy G has the no trade clause, but, who would trade for Jimmy G at this point? I mean, I don't know what team is really interested. It seems like the quarterback market, that kind of ties into the Deshaun Watson thing. Quarterback market right now is kind of set. I think teams have their plan. Like, to me, the Sam Darnold, I don't know who would trade for him at this point. I think he's going to be a New York Jet, regardless of what they do at 2. I just don't think there's an option. I mean, the Colts traded for Wentz. They took care of that. The Rams, they were never really a contender, but they traded for Stafford. So you take care of that. The Bears don't seem like really an option. They seem like they're riding Andy Dalton for the year. So, take out the Bears. The Panthers, I don't think they trade for Darnold. Texans, it just seems unlikely the Jets go Watson anymore. I don't see that happening. So, Sam Darnold looks like he's staying put. I don't see a fit for Jimmy G other than New England. I think New England's the only possible place where Jimmy Garoppolo could land. But the quarterback market really is taking shape, and most of these jobs, it's pretty clear right now who will be there in 2021. So yeah, be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think a lot of these quarterbacks are going to end up staying put. I mean, no matter whether if a team drafts a quarterback or not, these quarterbacks will be in the same spot. You spoke on Sam Darnold, of course. Right now, it's looking like it's obviously going to be Zach Wilson at that number 2 spot, and Sam Darnold and all these other guys. If you're looking to move on from him, just think about the other teams that would be interested. And as you said, you mentioned a bunch of them, but the quarterbacks that all these teams have, they're kind of equal on the level of talent that they have. Sam Darnold and all these other guys, like lower level players. Like, I mean, you can compare Drew Lock, but they're all kind of on the same level of like top 20, 25, a little bit outside of the top 25 quarterbacks in the league. So it really wouldn't make a difference for some of these quarterbacks to get moved on from Jimmy Garoppolo. As you said, Patriots would be an ideal spot for him, but after signing Cam, it's not looking likely. They do like Mac Jones a little bit. So it's gonna be very weird, to say the least, what the competition will look like on some of these teams.
Yeah, I think only time will tell. And I guess with that, we can jump into the mock drafts. I don't think we really have too much more. So Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I got this. Let's see how this voice holds up. Yeah. All right. Is it gonna load? All right. It's saying, oh boy. Well, all right. Share the screen. Hopefully this is it. This is it. There we go. NFL Mock Draft 3.0. I don't know if Griffin said this before, but it will be 32 teams this time. The first 20 will be kind of going in depth as we have. We'll have the positions of need, and then the following slide, we will have the player from 20, 21 to 32. They're all on the same screen, so we'll just kind of list them off as we go through. But obviously, the first pick in the draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars team needs obviously quarterback, safety, offensive tackle, wide receiver, and tight end. They did get Marvin Jones, so that wide receiver position isn't as important, but it still needs to be addressed. Tight end position, they still need to look for an upgrade there. But Jacksonville Jaguars obviously going to be taking quarterback Trevor Lawrence from Clemson. This picture, I don't know why it looks like it's super low, but we'll just go with it. Trevor Lawrence, a lot of people considering that generational talent. I don't see him that way. I just think he has he's the least likely quarterback in this draft to bust. I mean, he's basically a guy who he at the worst will be an average starter, and I think that's why he has to be the slot for the number one pick. He does have all that potential, but I don't think he's gonna be that generational guy. A lot of people are saying. Number 2 overall pick, the New York Jets. Team needs are edge, cornerback, interior, offensive line, running back, and tight end. And for me, I preluded this pick before, and it's Zach Wilson out of BYU. He had his pro day the other day. I mean, some of these throws, he was off axis and off kilt. I mean, he's just a beast. And I'm actually speechless on how good this guy is going to be. I was never high on him really until I saw this pro day. I watched him more and more, and this kid is going to be a beast. I know Griffin is going to be happy with this pick. Zach Wilson is a New York Jet, and poor Sam Darnold will not be having a job after this draft with the Jets. Well, he won't have the starting quarterback job, I should say. But 3rd overall pick, the San Francisco 49ers via Miami, as we talked about before. Team needs are cornerback, safety, defensive tackle, quarterback, and wide receiver. Obviously, they have Jimmy Garoppolo, but right now I have them taking Trey Lance, quarterback out of North Dakota State. I see you smiling over there, so we're going to see what you have. But I think, as you said before, he's either going to come in. I'm not sure if he's going to start right away, but at some point in the season, I think he is going to get some snaps in. And this is a quarterback who everyone's saying he may be best if he sits behind another quarterback for a few weeks at least to develop. And I think this will be a great fit for him with the 49ers. He'll get some extra help from Kyle Shanahan, and I think this will be a great fit. If he was coming in to start right away, and we knew that whatever quarterback they selected was going to come to start right away, this pick for me would be Justin Fields. But because of that uncertainty and that they still are keeping Jimmy Garoppolo and say he is the quarterback for this year, I'm going to stick with Trey Lance at this pick for right now. 4th overall, the Atlanta Falcons. Team needs edge, safety, cornerback, running back, offensive guard. And I had to spice it up a little bit. The past few weeks, I've had them taking a quarterback. I'm going to do something a little bit different here, and I'm going to get them another weapon in Kyle Pitts. I've seen this in more mock drafts now, just adding another weapon who can make plays all over the field as Julio Jones is starting to age. He'll be that guy who is reliable on all levels of the field, and he is going to be elite, arguably a top 4 tight end. I mean, just coming out of this draft, a lot of people are thinking he will be. So Kyle Pitts, an Atlanta Falcon, I think this offense will be filthy next year with Kyle Pitts at tight end. The 5th overall pick, Cincinnati Bengals. Team needs offensive tackle, interior O-line, edge, wide receiver, and linebacker. But Penei Sewell, the big man's on the board. I mean, he's a generational tackle. You have to take him up here, and you have to protect Joe Burrow and hopefully help Joe Mixon in that running game. Obviously, a running back who has a lot of talent, but really hasn't played up to his expectations because of his offensive line play. Penei Sewell will come right in, and he will fit well with this Bengals offense. 6th overall pick via the Philadelphia Eagles. Team needs offensive tackle, edge, linebacker, wide receiver, and running back for me. This is obvious what pick this will be. It is Jamar Chase, the wide receiver, the same player they would have gone if they were selecting at 3, in my opinion, and most people's opinion. So Eagles, you losing your player to the Miami Dolphins, and we're going to have to see what the Eagles do and what falls to them. But Jamar Chase, I think him, Devontae Parker, and why am I blanking on the name of who else did they sign? They just signed the receiver. Was it Willie Snead?
Fuller.
Will Fuller. I'm forgetting that, but
I think Willie Snead is on the Raiders. I think that's right.
Raiders. Yep. So Jamar Chase coming into this potent offense, I think if they add a running back to the mix, this offense is going to be unstoppable on top of that great defense that they already have. The 7th overall pick, I have a trade. The Denver Broncos trade up with Detroit. They jump ahead of the Panthers. Team needs, you see the first one on there, quarterback, offensive tackle, interior offensive line, defensive tackle, and linebacker. And I think you trade up, you have to get Justin Fields in front of the Panthers, who are looking for their quarterback of the future. This is a guy, I know you love, and I think that competitiveness we saw in versus Clemson at the end of the year really proved to me how well this quarterback and how good this quarterback is going to be in the future. He's going to be different than all of these other Ohio State quarterbacks that came out. You're seeing the no effort. You're seeing no toughness out of guys. Justin Fields is a complete opposite. He has the talent. He has the speed, and he's expected to run a sub 4.4 in the 40-yard dash. So that'll definitely boost his draft stock if that comes to life and if he does that. But Justin Fields in this Denver Broncos offense with Noah Fant, with Cortland Sutton, with Jerry Jeudy, with KJ Hamler, I think this offense will be great, and they already have a solid defense. So the Broncos could make a push in that division. They obviously won't win it with the Chiefs, but with Justin Fields at quarterback, I think that will be a major upgrade for them. 8th overall pick, Carolina Panthers. Team needs quarterback, offensive tackle, cornerback, tight end, and interior offensive line. It gets me upset to say this and make this pick, but I have to do it. It's Mac Jones, the quarterback out of Alabama. I do not like this guy at all, but I did like that one interview on his pro day, so that's why I'm going to give him at this 8th spot. Everyone's saying his 4 is the 8th overall pick, which is the Panthers pick, so I'm just going to give it to him. Mac Jones, he has all the talent to be a great passer in this league. The question marks are really just the athleticism, and that's where the quarterback comparisons with Tom Brady are being drawn. He can throw the ball, but he sure can't run that ball. So the Panthers will be getting that immobile quarterback who pass the ball to players like DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson in this potent offense, also with arguably the best running back in the league with Christian McCaffrey. With the 9th overall pick, I have the Detroit Lions. This is via Denver, obviously, who traded up to the 7th overall pick. Team needs a wide receiver, edge, linebacker, defensive tackle, and safety. And they're going to get the same player who I thought they would have taken at 7 if this trade didn't happen. And this is Jalen Waddle, the wide receiver out of Alabama. I still have Jalen Waddle above Devonta Smith. I'm just worried about that height still. But Jalen Waddle, he has the speed. He has the route running. He has the hands. He has the run after the catch ability all over the field. I mean, he came in for that one play against Ohio State, and he had that big game, which the big gain that really ended hopes for Ohio State in the national championship. So Jalen Waddle,
hopes were over really quick in that
but
one.
After that, I mean, I was still hoping as an Ohio State fan, you get the stop, you could potentially get that ball back and make some plays. But Jalen Waddle sure ended that with that nice end around that he had. So the speed was obviously shown there. The toughness was shown there when he didn't have to participate. And I think that's what will boost his stock. He didn't have to play in that game, but he sure did come out, and he did make that one good play for Alabama in that offense. At 10, the Dallas Cowboys team needs cornerback, a defensive tackle, offensive tackle, edge, and safety. I just dropped that safety spot down a little bit after that DeMonte Kazi signing. You also got Keanu O'Neal, so linebacker isn't on there as well right now. And I have them taken
from the Falcons, just right from the Falcons.
Just right from it. We're taking that secondary. J.C. Horn, the cornerback out of South Carolina. You saw what he did his pro day. He ran 4.37 or 4.36, I believe. He really he did much better than Patrick Surtain in all the categories, and Patrick Surtain had that great pro day. So that just goes to show you how athletic J.C. Horn is. He makes a bunch of plays. I forgot who it was against. He had 2 interceptions. He absolutely balled out. If he could fix his handsiness and his grabbiness, I think he's going to be one of the better cornerbacks in this league. He has all the athletic tools you need. And Patrick Surtain, who I would also consider here, he just doesn't have that borderline straight line speed that it needs to cover some of these elite and fast receivers. And I think J.C. Horn has all the abilities to be a great cornerback in this league. So J.C. Horn above Patrick Surtain for me in this mock draft.
We've got some breaking news.
Oh boy, let me check.
LaMarcus Aldridge is signing with the Brooklyn Nets.
Yo, oh my gosh. Okay, I guess this segment from OTA Clips, we talked about the Lakers, we talked about the Nets, who would win who would win it all, really. And now it's obvious it's going to be the dang Nets.
Wow. I mean, they don't even need him. I mean, they needed the Drummond. It just seemed like, the reports on Drummond that he wasn't going to sign there. And all of a sudden, I mean, it said Miami was potentially the favorite, but all of a sudden, LaMarcus Aldridge goes to the Nets. It makes sense. I mean, they have Blake Griffin, but, the big men, they still could use another guy off the bench and another veteran. But that is absolutely crazy what the Brooklyn Nets are doing.
So, I mean, Lakers not in that conversation anymore. It's all Nets right now. Don't even watch the NBA. Who's winning the finals?
I mean, it sucks because the NBA is just ruined right now. I mean, the Nets are just it's just not fair. I mean, you look at a team like the Brooklyn Nets right now where, I mean, if Spencer Dinwiddie was healthy, it'd just be even more ridiculous. Spencer Dinwiddie, obviously, after the year, but this team has Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Joe Harris, DeAndre Jordan, LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin. I mean, they have other Bruce Brown's playing good, Jeff Green, TLC. I mean, Nick Claxton. It's crazy.
It's like you're playing Madden without the damn salary cap. Like this is
you would have. I mean, these buyouts are ridiculous. They've now got Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean,
it is something else.
I mean,
it really is. Oh my gosh!
Wow.
Marcus Aldridge.
Oh my God! So LaMarcus Aldridge clearly trying to win a championship. Brooklyn is. I mean, they are absolutely loaded. Signed to a veterans minimum, it says. Oh, wow. I mean, maybe Drummond just goes there now since the season's over.
I mean, you get Drummond. I mean, yeah, no one's watching the NBA if that happens.
Nah, I mean, it's gonna be hard for us to talk about the NBA because it's over. I mean, none of these little cute Suns teams are like they're not doing anything, dude. Like, it's over.
It really is unfair.
Wow. Really. All right, back to the mock draft.
From one New York team, now we're on another New York team. The New York Giants team needs edge, cornerback, interior offensive line, tight end, and quarterback, wide receiver.
Cornerback at number 2. Interesting.
Yeah. You got James Bradbury.
And tight end too. Jeez.
Evan Ingram. I mean, he's costing you some of these games.
They signed Kyle Rudolph too, though.
Yep. I don't know. I still think
cornerback. They signed Adoree Jackson. I'm just saying. They made some moves at those positions.
I know that.
Okay.
But I'm not even going with the position that's on this list. They got Kenny Galladay, and you're seeing the reports that this guy is basically a lock for the Giants if he's there. Bam, Devonta Smith, wide receiver. I mean, this really would be unfair. I mean, if the Giants got this, and as we said, we speak about Daniel Jones. The team's going to go as far as Daniel Jones takes them. You get Devonta Smith. I mean, you have Adoree Jackson, Kenny Galladay, and if Daniel Jones can perform even just as an average quarterback, I mean, this team is obviously going to make the playoffs, and I think they easily win the NFC East with all the upgrades that they have made. But even if Daniel Jones doesn't pan out, you have a bunch of these guys on multi-year deals. So this will be basically the same team in 2 years. So if you want to move out from Daniel Jones after the season, you get a quarterback and run it right back with the same team, and it will go very far. Devonta Smith obviously won the Heisman this year. It's just the lack of size that everyone's worried about, including me. For him, he has the route running, he has the run after catch, he has the hands, he has everything. And Devonta Smith as a number 2 to Kenny Galladay in this offense with Sterling Shepard there, Darius Slayton. I mean, this offense will be very, very hard to stop. And we also forget about Saquon Barkley, who will be back on this Giants team. So Giants, you're getting another star player at the receiver position this offseason. And now that leaves the Philadelphia Eagles.
I think he just wanted to screw the Eagles over there. It's
a little bit of everything, But team needs wide receiver, obviously, linebacker, cornerback, quarterback. We're unsure of Jalen Hurts, and offensive line. Obviously, almost every player on that offensive line is going to be retiring in about 2 years. So you're going to have to look for some future players there. Philadelphia Eagles, they need cornerback right there, and they're going to go out and get Patrick Surtain II, the cornerback out of Alabama. You're going to have to be able to stop some of these offenses in the NFC East. You got Terry McLaurin on the football team. You're going to have Kenny Galladay, and in this mock draft, you're going to have Devonta Smith on the Giants. You're going to have CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup on the Cowboys. You're going to have to find a way to stop it. You really don't have that secondary, a cornerback, a star player at the secondary right now, aside from Darius Slay, who last year he didn't play as expected. obviously after coming off of a big season with the Lions. So Patrick Surtain and Darius Slay, that would be a huge help for this. I was about to say New York Giants team, this Philadelphia Eagles team, in trying to stop those potent offenses in the NFC least. And now 13, the Los Angeles Chargers team needs offensive tackle, cornerback, slot wide receiver, tight end, and edge. Tight end, obviously, a bigger need now that you lost Hunter Henry to the Patriots, but the Chargers, you have to take the best player on the board, a versatile player in Rashawn Slater. He could play every position on the offensive line. I said offensive tackle right here because that's what a lot of people are just calling him, but he really is just an offensive lineman. Put him anywhere, and I'm going to keep saying this every single week. Lock down Chase Young in 2019. You're obviously going to get picked high, and I think this is actually a steal if you get him at 13 for the Los Angeles Chargers. Now 14th, the Minnesota Vikings team needs edge, offensive tackle, offensive guard, safety, and wide receiver. They did just sign that bum Xavier Woods on that $2.25 million deal. Who says, "Oh, we expect you're expecting to get full effort every single play." It's your freaking job. It's your freaking job to give effort on every play. That's why you're in the NFL. But I'm switching it up. It's always Quiddy Pay here, and I'm giving them Elijah Vera Tucker. I had to switch it up. I had to do something different. But we'll just assume that it's Quiddy Pay every single mock draft until the draft comes. But offensive guard, offensive tackle, USC. You're going to help Kirk Cousins. You're going to help Dalvin Cook, who had some injuries last year. Getting a versatile offensive lineman. I think that's what is special about this draft. All these offensive linemen could play a bunch of different positions on the line, and that's why they're going to be taken so highly. Compared to some other drafts. Of course, last year, a bunch of tackles were taken super high in the top 10, but in previous drafts before that, you really weren't seeing offensive linemen getting taken as I expect them to get taken this year. So Elijah Vera Tucker, a Minnesota Viking, not Quiddy Pay this time. You're not getting a defensive end, you're getting a tackle and guard. So next pick,
Oh, spoiler.
I guess we're going back real quick. New England Patriots, you saw the pick, quarterback, cornerback, wide receiver, defensive tackle, and edge. For team needs, they did sign Kyle Van Noy, but I mean, Michael Parsons, a guy who could rush the passer, a guy who could play in coverage. He could really do it all, and he's that kind of tweener guy that Bill Belichick likes on his team. So I think Michael Parsons is literally a perfect fit for the New England Patriots. He can do it all. He has a speed, of course. So Michael Parsons is a New England Patriot after that loaded and stacked off season that New England has had. Now with the 16th overall pick, the Arizona Cardinals are up. Team needs cornerback, defensive tackle, tight end, edge, offensive guard. Normally, this pick, if you look in a lot of the mock drafts, is J.C. Horn. We're giving him a different cornerback today. Caleb Farley, the cornerback out of Virginia Tech. He's going to be falling on a lot of people's boards, and in this draft, he's going to fall a lot. I think he'd even fall past 16. He's getting that second back surgery. He's having all these injury and health problems for a guy who opted out this season. He's really new to the cornerback position after playing quarterback for a few years. So he's really a raw player, and you're kind of hoping on that he won't have any injuries. He will be able to translate to the NFL, but he obviously has the intelligence after playing quarterback for some time. So Caleb Farley is going to fall. But if everything pans out, I think Caleb Farley is going to be one of the better cornerbacks in this league, as I said, with J.C. Horn. But Caleb Farley is an Arizona Cardinal. It's not J.C. Horn this time at 16, as you guys are a lot of you guys are seeing in some of these NFL mock drafts from other people. Now 17th, the Las Vegas Raiders. The team needs our defensive tackle, linebacker, cornerback, safety, and edge. I'm giving them my boy Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the linebacker out of Notre Dame. A lot of guys, I think, why he's kind of falling. You really don't know if he's going to be a safety, a linebacker, but he performed super well as a linebacker last year in the past few years. A guy that makes plays all over the field. I mean, you pull up his regular tape, not highlights, and it's looking like every play is a highlight for him. I mean, that one play against what was that Clemson on a toss. I mean, he picked that off and he took it to the house. I mean, he has a knack for finding the football, making big hits, and making plays sideline to sideline. And I think that's what you're going to be getting out of J.O.K., the special linebacker out of Notre Dame. Now at the 18th pick, Miami Dolphins are back up. Team needs offensive tackle, edge, linebacker, running back, and safety. You're taking well, okay, you're taking wide receiver out of that after they pick Jamar Chase at 6 in this mock draft, and the Miami Dolphins go and they get offensive tackle Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech. You have to protect Tua. You're going to have to get help in that run game. Christian Darrisaw is going to provide that for you, and your offense is going to be loaded and taken to a next level after this draft. You go wide receiver, offensive tackle for the Miami Dolphins. And now 19th, the Washington football team. Team needs quarterback, offensive tackle, linebacker, wide receiver, and tight end. They did go out and they got Curtis Samuel, the former Carolina Panther, but I still think you need a guy who could play outside and isn't really that utility kind of guy. And you're going to go out, get Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver from Minnesota, a guy who opted out, but he was making plays 2 years ago when he was next to Tyler Johnson, of course, who's on I was about to say the Minnesota Vikings, who's on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now, and he shined. He showed out and played much better than Tyler Johnson. So he's definitely earning this first round pick by the football team. And really just thinking about Rashad Bateman and Terry McLaurin, it's going to be filthy. You got Fitzmagic back there, but we're going to have to see. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of speechless. I keep mentioning these teams are going to need corners in the NFC East for these potent offenses, and now you're going to need another one for some of these teams. So I think the NFC East and these offenses, they are going to be very, very good next year, except for the Eagles, of course, who kind of ruined that in this mock draft by not getting the chance for a wide receiver. But 20th, the Chicago Bears team needs quarterback, offensive tackle, interior offensive line, cornerback, and wide receiver. And I have them taking Tevin Jenkins, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma State. You got to protect Andy Dalton. It's your quarterback of the future, your franchise quarterback. But really, I think this pick is going to help out a player named David Montgomery the most. I mean, he had some electrifying games the past few seasons. And this year, you saw a few games where he bursted out for over 150 yards. I mean, he's special with the poor offensive line. You come in, you get Tevin Jenkins, who locked up also a potential first-round pick in Aziz Ojolari in that game versus Georgia. I think Tevin Jenkins, he's going to provide some great pass blocking for Andy Dalton, who obviously didn't have much last year, and he'll provide some great run blocking for David Montgomery as well. And now here is the rest of the picks, so we'll just run through them quickly. The Packers, I have them trading with the Indianapolis Colts. They come up, they take Greg Newsome, the cornerback out of Northwestern. You're pairing him with Jair Alexander, and I mean, this cornerback group is going to be lethal. Last year in that NFC Championship game, you saw how important cornerbacks were. Kevin King obviously didn't get the job done versus that very electrifying Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, and I think the Packers and the Buccaneers are going to be competing for the NFC once again this year. So Packers, they need to get a defensive back who could help cover some of those guys, and you're going to be getting that with Greg Newsome. The Tennessee Titans, they go out, get Rondale Moore. You lose Corey Davis to the Giants, so you're filling up that need at wide receiver. Of course, this would probably be an edge rusher if they didn't go out and overpay Bud Dupree, but Rondale Moore is a Tennessee Titan in this mock draft. And next, we got back-to-back running backs. The New York Jets up first. They're taking Najee Harris, the running back out of Alabama, Zach Wilson, Najee Harris, Corey Davis. You're going to have a lot of guys on this offense who can get done. And, of course, Robert Saleh, the brilliant defensive mind. So even if you have average players.
Brilliant. I like hearing that.
Brilliant. So even if you have average players on that defense, I think Robert Saleh has the potential to make this defense good, no matter how good the players are or how bad they are. I mean, he's just that brilliant of a defensive mind. So I think you go offense for the first two picks. You get Najee Harris here, Zach Wilson, Najee Harris, and Corey Davis. A pretty good trio there for the New York Jets. And now we have Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm having them take a running back. James Conner hasn't been getting it done really recently. So I'm giving them Travis Etienne, the running back out of Clemson. He could do it all. Kind of looks like a little mini Alvin Kamara out there. He ran pretty fast out of his pro day as well. So Pittsburgh Steelers, you're getting your James Conner replacement in Travis Etienne. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm giving them Trayvon Mulrig, the safety out of TCU.
Mel Kiper had some similarities in this draft, I must say. I'm recognizing a lot of similarities here.
This guy, I mean, Trayvon Mulrig, I mean, if we're doing 32 teamers, I'm pretty sure I'm going to give Trayvon Mulrig to this 25th this 25th spot Jacksonville Jaguars every time. He needs some help at the position. You got CJ Henderson last year as a cornerback. So you're really just trying to get that young secondary that you need. Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm not really sure who would be a sure talent here at this position. I mean, you're looking at guys after him who we'll get into next, but all these guys are kind of hit or miss players, and I think Trayvon Mulray is going to be that one guy who's at the worst going to be average. So Jacksonville Jaguars are getting an average at worst safety in Trayvon Mulray. So yep, next pick Cleveland Browns. This was a kind of a toss-up for me. I want to give it between Christian Barmore, but I actually gave it to Kwity Paye, the edge out of Michigan. They fell. These edges fell in this mock draft. And I think
love Kwity Paye. What happened?
If you one go, I think you're going to see a run on all of them. The Cleveland Browns are getting Kwity Paye. You're going to be pairing them up with Myles freaking Garrett. I mean, come on now. A potent defense who just signed John Johnson. You're going to have Grant Delpit back. I mean, the amount of safeties this team has, the amount of cornerbacks this team has, it's unbelievable. You add Kwity Paye, and I think opposing offenses are going to do absolutely nothing. I see you nod your head there. So good pick for the Cleveland Browns here. The Baltimore Ravens up next. I have them taking Azeez Ojulari. I kind of talked about that. He has a lot of upside. He has the speed, and he's a good pass rusher. He just needs a few more moves. But as I said, Tevin Jenkins really locked him up for the most part of that one game. So he's going against another NFL talent, and he really wasn't able to do much. And I think that's why he's falling here to 27 for the Baltimore Ravens. But if you hit an Azeez, I think you're going to be getting a great player who come off the edge after losing Matthew Judon to the Patriots. And next, we have the New Orleans Saints. It's kind of a toss-up between two cornerbacks for me. I was going to say Eric Stokes, but my heart, I chose Asante Samuel Jr. Eric Stokes, obviously, he has the length. He has the more ideal size that you're looking for in a cornerback. He ran that 4.34, I believe it was, and whatever, that pro day or whatever it was. But he ran fast, but you're getting Asante Samuel Jr., a guy whose dad was also in the league as a defensive back. He is on the shorter side. He's 5'10", but he plays like he's much bigger than that. He goes up, he gets the ball, he can play man, he can play zone. The New Orleans Saints are going to need some help at cornerback. And who knows if they're going to re-sign Marshawn Lattimore after next year. Will they have the money? Will they not? We're going to have to see. But if you can't re-sign him, you're going to be getting your guy of the future in Asante Samuel Jr., who you're hoping could be a number one cornerback for the team. And up next, I have the Indianapolis Colts taking Gregory Rousseau, the edge out of Miami. He didn't play this past year. He played in 2019, and he was absolutely great. He just has a lot. He's probably the biggest boomer bust guy in this entire draft. He's going to be great, or he's going to be absolutely nothing. He's going to be like a Taco Charlton from the Cowboys in 2018 or 2017, whatever year that was. I mean, he has all the tangibles. He's 6'7". He's 6'7". He has the arm length, and I mean, he has the speed for sure. So Indianapolis Colts, you're going to be taking a risk on a guy who has a lot of potential. But I think the Colts are a great team, that great defense with some other solid players here like DeForest Buckner, who could help develop Rousseau at that edge position. And up next, I have the Buffalo Bills taking another edge defender out of Miami, Jalen Phillips, a guy who's really been up in the air about is he going to play, is he not going to play. He's had those scares where he was thinking of retiring from college football, and I think that's why he falls here. He's obviously a guy who I think would go top 10, maybe even top 5 with the talent he's shown a few years ago. But the injuries, it's just so bad. He hasn't played really at all the past few years. The upside is great, but it's kind of like that Jalen Smith injury from a few years ago. I'm going to keep saying these Cowboys comparisons, but Jalen Phillips, if you hit on him, I mean, he's going to be terrific. But you're on. It's in my opinion, it's probably unlikely that he's going to play for most of a season. He's probably going to play a few games before he gets hurt, if he even plays at all. But Jalen Phillips, if you hit on him for the Buffalo Bills, I mean, this defense will be ferocious. Bills, if a running back was here, one of the top 2 running backs, I think you have to take him. Your running game really hasn't done much. You signed Matt Breida, but he's not going to really help you out there much over Devin Singletary. But up next, I'm having the Kansas City Chiefs. After losing your offensive tackles, you got to go out and you got to get another one in Alex Leatherwood out of Alabama. Big guy who could run block, who could pass block, and you're really just filling that gap that has been created from the Mitchell Schwartz loss this offseason. And lastly, pick 32, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, the team that just re-signs every single goddamn player. You're just adding more depth, a player who can go behind Ndamukong Suh and Christian Barmore and just ball out. I mean, you're going to be learning from some great guys how to pass rush, how to stop and play better in the run game. You saw what he did versus Ohio State, obviously. In the national championship, he was tearing it up, and I think that's the upside you're seeing and looking for and hoping to get out of Christian Barmore. But obviously, that loaded defensive line of the Buccaneers is definitely going to develop Barmore into a great NFL player. And with that, whew, that was a long one. My throat, it didn't give up, but it sure is sore.
Well, you got through, and I definitely can say for sure that you know this stuff a bit better than me about the draft, to say the least. So, for analysis on some of these guys, Mac is the guy you want to listen to. But of course, I'm gonna be rolling out my big boy mock draft as well. Senyek mock draft 3.0, same font as always. Copy and pasted the little ting. We saved some time, which was good. So for the Jacksonville Jaguars, to start this puppy off, I don't know where our face cam will be. Whatever. So team needs quarterback still number one. O-line in general. Obviously, you tag Cam Robinson, whatever. Tight end need, linebacker, they need help, D-tackle. It doesn't matter what I'm reading right now. It's Trevor Lawrence. Superstar. Neither of us are high on him as this generational prospect. I'll, never be seen again. I can see many of these quarterbacks, such as Zach Wilson and even Justin Fields under the right system, turning out better than Trevor Lawrence. But obviously, the consensus number one pick. He's got all the tools, everything you could possibly want in a quarterback. Only thing is, he has struggled at times. He struggles under pressure at times. You saw that in the Ohio State game. He really, made some, not the best decisions there. So that Ohio State game really opened up eyes for me. And but still number one pick. Number two, my New York Jets. Quarterback's number one for me this week. It's clear Sam Darnold's done. So that means you got to get a quarterback. O-line, still in need. They didn't really address it this offseason, to be honest. Not many great O-line guys. They went for Joe Thuney, but they weren't going to pay that bag that he got. Cornerback is a need. Outside the linebacker, a need. And tight end, definitely a need as well. They got a lot of needs. But Zach Wilson, the quarterback at BYU, like you said, I was not hugely high on this guy. I kind of not understood the hype. And then, his pro day hits, and you see this guy's the real deal. Great kid, holds himself well. The New York media is something else, but, he seems like a good kid, and I really like him. I think he's a good leader. He makes good throws. And we saw that at the pro day. So for me, after that pro day, and it just seems like all the reports, Zach Wilson, he's going to be going number two. San Francisco 49ers. Oh, well, there goes a little spoiler there. But Miami, they're going to be, obviously picking a quarterback here, but and like you said, like we see, it's going to be Justin Fields in my eyes. But the team needs guard. They're kind of in shambles there. But they fixed the rest of that. They re-signed Trent Williams, biggest deal, I believe, ever for an O-lineman. They signed Alex Mack, so good news there. They need cornerback, D-tackle, safety. But I'm giving them Justin Fields, the quarterback out of the 49ers. Goodness gracious, out of Ohio State. And for me, the reason, this is going to be Fields, and I think it's going to be Fields, is I truly don't believe the 49ers would have traded all the way up to 3 to draft Trey Lance. I think they want someone who has that big game experience that comes from one of these big programs that has played against some of these top tier teams. And to me, that's not Trey Lance. And also, you got to remember, last year at the end of the season, people were asking, is Justin Fields, on the level of Trevor Lawrence? Obviously, a few poor games this season, attributed to that. But this season was a weird season at the end of the day. It was, COVID-filled season. Ohio State definitely had COVID problems at one point. You saw Chris Olave out at times. And I'm not going to blame that on Justin Fields. And he definitely had some problems. But I think Kyle Shanahan and that great staff in San Francisco can fix that. You give him an automatic weapon in George Kittle, that's going to help him immediately. So to me, I think you're trading up. You're not going to go for more of a project, not a project, but more a guy who, a little more developmental needs in Trey Lance. To me, this is a move for Justin Fields. I think you don't trade up unless you're getting this guy at this pick. I'm going to keep doing it. Carolina at 4. Unfortunately, Denver Broncos to 6 dream has died with the trade this week. So I'm going to keep rolling. Carolina Panthers, they will get a quarterback, and they will trade up here with the Atlanta Falcons to get one. Even though it's in the division, I think Atlanta will be presented with the best deal from Carolina, so they'll ultimately accept it. So quarterback is the team need number 1. Cornerback also a need. Tight end is a need. Guard. Middle linebacker will never be the same since Luke Kuechly departed. But like I said, they're going quarterback, and it's going to be Trey Lance. Trey Lance, great prospect. He's got tons of speed. People really like the upside. Obviously opted out, so we didn't see him this past season. only flaw for him, and that's the reason I didn't pick him at 4. Really hasn't competed against the best of the best. North Dakota State has never really played the top tier teams. Like Ohio State is playing not a power. I don't think they're in the Power 5. No, they're not. Obviously, though, Carson Wentz came from North Dakota State, so they do have a history of breeding talent, specifically at quarterback, and he will be entering the draft with, a star left tackle, and Dylan Riddins from North Dakota State. So Trey Lance going to be the 4th overall pick in this one. This is a pick that I really struggle with. To me, their top need, though, interestingly enough, is linebacker. They're really, really thin at that. Tight end is number 2. Drew Samples, their guard. They need help. Wide receiver, they need help as well. Tackle. To me, this is between 2 players, between Kyle Pitts and Penei Sewell. It's a really tough decision. They want to give Joe Burrow that other weapon. And that Riley Reif signing is, makes it a little more difficult. But it's a 1-year deal. Jonah Williams still a bit unproven. So I truly don't believe you can pass up protecting Joe Burrow with a generational tackle in Penei Sewell. You just can't miss this pick in my eyes, even though Kyle Pitts is generational talent. And both of these picks are sensational. To me, Joe Burrow needs protection. Riley Reif, it's a 1-year deal. If it was maybe a 3-year deal, I think this would be different. I think they'd go Kyle Pitts. But Riley Reif, 1-year deal, just in case Penei Sewell goes before. They truly don't know what's going to happen. I believe Riley Reif more of a filler for them. And Jonah Williams still a bit unproven there. So I think they go tackle. And with the 6th pick, it will not be the Denver Broncos taking a quarterback, sadly. The Miami Dolphins traded for this pick. Team needs for me, offensive tackle, number 1, guard at 2. They need help on the O-line. D tackle is 3rd. Wilkins is more an edge at this point, so they need help with the tackle. They lost Devon Godchow. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but we're rolling with it. To New England. Quarterback, to me, Tua is still a bit unproven, so I'm going to put it there. Halfback, I think they addressed wide receiver. But that said, I still think they're taking a wide receiver. And I'm going to go with someone different. I do believe Jamar Chase is the better player, but I think they've committed themselves to Tua Tagovailoa this week. And I think they're going to draft him, his fellow wide receiver from Alabama, Devonta Smith. I do believe that Jamar Chase is the better player, but I do believe with the commitment to Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback now, they're not going to be trading for Deshaun Watson. They're going to get him his guy, a guy he's comfortable with, the guy he's played with. He's also the Heisman winner. He's still got no guy to fret. And also, I do believe he will put on a little bit of weight to get in the league. They can adjust. And, I think this is the pick for them. To me, I think they want someone who Tua is comfortable with. He didn't really look too comfortable in that offense. And I don't think bringing in Jamar Chase, who is a generational talent, potentially wide receiver, Devonta Smith's a very good talent as well. And to me, I think they're pretty similar. So I'd rather go with the guy that Tua already has built-in chem with. Number 7, the Detroit Lions. To me, their number 1 need, offensive tackle. They do have Taylor Decker, the Buckeye, at left tackle, but the right tackle is kind of a mess at the moment. Quarterback, team need, Jared Goff, not the answer. Linebacker is, they got just the aging Patriots guys there, it seems. D tackle, wide receiver. But for this pick, I've tended to go with Rashawn Slater here. I'm going to mix it up today, and I'm going to give the Detroit Lions Jamar Chase. Like I said, I do believe he is the better prospect out of him and Devonta Smith. But like I said, I do believe chemistry things. Maybe we'll give Devonta Smith to Miami. But Jamar Chase, generational talent. Whoever the quarterback of the future happens to be in Detroit is going to get this guy. And they obviously really lost all their main guys this year in Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay, both not with the team anymore. So they need to reestablish themselves at wide receiver. So for me, they got to go wide out here. Jamar Chase, just the right pick here, and he'll be the leading group through that wide receiver group for years to come. 8th pick, the Atlanta Falcons. Team needs guard. Really, they just have some bums there. They lost Alec Mack. So really all interior O-line is from. Outside linebacker, to me, is still an issue there. Cornerback, they need help. AJ Terrell, really the only guy. They lose Desmond Trufant. I didn't be on the team for a while, so I don't even know what I'm saying. Yeah, I believe he was playing he was in Detroit, yeah. I think he's somewhere else this year. He might have moved from Detroit, actually. Safety, they just basically fed their safeties to Dallas, so they could use some out there. And left end is a need for me. But I've mocked this, I believe, in the first one. I believe I moved away from him in the second. But the Atlanta Falcons will go with Patrick Surtain II. To me, the best cornerback in the draft. I know you had J.C. Horn. To me, you tooted the horn of J.C. Horn a little too heavy there. Patrick Surtain has just been the best cornerback in college football these past few years. He's gone against the best, and he's done the best. And to me, J.C. Horn, great combine, but Patrick Surtain, his or not combine, but his pro day was nothing to sniff at either. He's a great cornerback, established talent, comes from Alabama. Those guys are always ready to go in the NFL. So for me, you got to go Patrick Surtain, and you'll pair him in a young cornerback group, and I think it's a great fit for Patrick Surtain. Number 9, the Denver.
He's on the Bears now. He's on the Bears, so he's moving around a bit.
Trufant? Yeah, I knew he was somewhere else. So Trufant is on the Bears. Quarterback, as the number 1 need for the Denver Broncos, as I've mocked them. D end, kind of a need for them too. Offensive tackle is a problem. Middle linebacker, they got like that Johnson bum. He sucks. Center, not really a spot where they're going to be picking here. Creed Humphrey, obviously the best in the class. He won't be going at number 9. So the Denver Broncos, I'm going to be going with Mac Jones here, the quarterback. I think Denver is going to move on from Drew Lock. And Mac Jones, to me, kind of a good fit. I mean, you look at the coaching staff there. They've got a great head coach in Vic Fangio. He's a great guy. Drew Lock hasn't worked out with him, but I think you put Mac Jones even under the wing of John Elway there. It kind of reminds me of a little Peyton Manning-esque style as well. Kind of a pocket passer, a little weird. He kind of like throws like him a little bit too, like kind of a weird style. So maybe Peyton assists him a little bit, helps the kid out. But I think Mac Jones just a fit. Even bench him for a year, you can do whatever you want with him. But for me, there's established wideouts there. Jerry Jeudy's already there. I know Mac Jones really didn't play too much with Jerry Jeudy, but he did at the end of the year when Tua was banged up. So Mac Jones has experience with Jeudy, maybe a nice fit there. And I think for Denver, it's just a way to change the tides. And Mac Jones could fit there. Number 10, your Dallas Cowboys. And this is an interesting pick. You actually mocked them, I believe, in the first one. This pick, D tackles their number 1 need in my eyes. Just a weak spot there. Tight end, I'm not sold on the Schultz and Jarwin duo. To me, it's just I'm not loving it. Cornerback, they lost some guys, so definitely a spot where they could look here. Center, since Frederick retired, it's just been a disaster. And right outside linebacker, Van Der Esch plays on the left, right is just whoever's feeling it from the streets on a given day. So with the 10th pick,
it'll be Neil Smith Layton.
Oh, Neil's going to play right outside linebacker.
He's playing linebacker now.
Oh, okay. Well, that's probably going to be a disaster. So they still could be looking for a right outside linebacker in this draft. But with this pick, you got to take the best talent on the board. The fact that he fell here, you have to take him, and that's Kyle Pitts. Such a Jerry Jeudy selection here, and I think it's just the perfect fit.
Jerry Jeudy.
You give Dak. Yeah, I mean, you give Dak another weapon. It's just the right fit here. I normally would probably give Caleb Farley to the Dallas Cowboys, but with that injury, I'm not as big on a J.C. Horn guy, and I don't think Jerry Jones is going to go and give J.C. Horn and make him a Cowboy at the 10th pick. That to me is just, it's not going to happen here. When Kyle Pitts is on the board, you take Kyle Pitts. You don't miss on Kyle Pitts if you're the Dallas Cowboys. That happened with CeeDee Lamb last year, so I really expect the same thing to happen, especially when that tight end group is not really, neither of those guys are quite elite, kind of nice depth options. And they play, they do have multiple tight end sets, I believe, there. So not the worst case scenario, but Kyle Pitts, Dallas Cowboys, put it in stone. The New York Giants, they signed Kenny Galladay. For me, I don't think they're going receiver here anymore. They've got a great established young group. They've got obviously Galladay, Sterling Shep, and Darius Slayton, who I believe they're high on. So right tackle and center, immediate needs on that O-line. They need help. Outside linebacker as a whole could use some work. Quarterback, got to do it. Daniel Jones, not the answer in my eyes. And left end, the guy to go opposite. I believe Dexter Lawrence plays there, but that guy's a stiff. He sucks. He's been a bust out of Clemson. But this pick, for me, this is a really good move. The G-men get him. Rashawn Slater, the offensive tackle out of Northwestern. Giants as a whole just need O-line help. So bringing in Slater, he's going to be able to plug in somewhere, and specifically at right tackle. You pair him and Andrew Thomas on the offensive tackle. That's a good, solid, young offensive foundation there. And he used back-to-back picks on O-line. I think it's a smart move for the Giants. And, if Slater does fall to 11, with the Kenny Galladay signing, to me, it's just a smarter move. They need that help. They need to protect Daniel Jones, give him more time in the pocket because, Daniel Jones under pressure when he gets, in those situations, tends to fumble, tends to panic. So if you can give Daniel Jones a little more time with some of these more established weapons, and also give more protection for Saquon Barkley, I think you're going to be in a really good spot. So Slater, for me, is the pick, big man out of Northwestern. Number 12, Philadelphia Eagles via San Fran from Miami. This team, they need some help. Cornerback, I put it at 5th need for me right now. I don't know why I start from the bottom. But number 1 need, linebacker. Couldn't name a single guy there. So that's going to be your top need. Wide receiver, big need there. Really no established guys. Obviously, they got some young guys, and Rager or Shaga Whiteside, I believe, still on that team. But they've missed on wide receivers. Fears in a row. Left guard, they need. Really the other 4 positions are more established guys. Guys who have played there. Quarterback, you don't know what Hurts is gonna. You had this there too. We don't know Hurts. He's only played a few games, small sample size. Cornerback definitely a need. But for me, Philadelphia gonna go with the best wideout left on the board, and that's Jalen Waddle. For me, he's the 3rd guy that will fall. I know you have him more as the 2nd. For me, Waddle is the 3rd. I think he's a good fit. He's a guy who can do multiple things. He's a great special teamer as well as a great wideout. So Eagles definitely no team. Definitely a team that could use help on the special teams. They've had great special teams of the year with guys like Darren Sproles, Sean Jackson. So Waddle for me can really look to replicate that. And like you said, he's a great guy, great downfield threat. But he also has that size. He's a little bigger than a guy like a Devonta Smith, so he's going to be able to size up better with some of these NFL level cornerbacks. And I think we'll see him have a great level of success. Obviously, had fantastic seasons with Tua and, was looking good before he had that injury. So Jalen Waddle, definitely a great pick for the Eagles at number 12. Number 13 for the Los Angeles Chargers. Good offseason so far, I would say. They signed Corey Linsley. I like that move a lot. Obviously, they did lose Hunter Henry, which hurts. I think I just forgot tight end on here. I guess they signed Jared Cook, so that's probably why I left it off. They did bring in Jared Cook. So for the in short term, tight end, not one of their bigger needs. D tackle, offensive tackle needs, guards. It's always a mess with them. Linebacker, they did draft Kenneth Murray last year. He hasn't quite panned out the way they wanted. They do have some other guys there, but still a need. And cornerback outside of Chris Harris, it's shaky. Obviously, I believe they released Casey Hayward, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, who still hasn't been signed. So we'll see what happens with Casey Hayward. But for me, I don't even know who I have picked. Oh, Micah Parsons enters at 13. Had a good pro day. Huh?
Parsons and Murray. I like it.
Yeah. Micah Parsons, for me, had a good pro day. I believe he ran a 4.3 something on his 40-yard dash. And to me, he's just, probably honestly the best defensive player on the board here. And, for the Chargers team that's built on defense, this team would have some really big playmakers. Parsons, without those character issues, to me, potentially would be a top 5, top 7 kind of guy. Those character issues have sent them down in a lot of people's mock drafts and boards. But for me, Micah Parsons obviously opted out. So some of these opt-out guys, I think, will start shifting back up towards these later projections. And once they have their pro days and combines, they'll reestablish themselves. But people haven't seen them in a while, so they fall. And then there's all that recency bias. But for me, Parsons, such a talent, was so good for Penn State. And, I think for the Chargers who need help at linebacker, this is just the right move for them. He's the best player on the board defensively, and he just happens to fit one of their biggest defensive needs. So Micah Parsons to the Chargers, I really like this selection for one. 14, Minnesota Vikings. I think it's pretty obvious this is an offensive line pick here for them. They lost Riley Reef. They did bring in did they bring in Pat Eichmann? Was that them who brought him in or someone like that? Or they brought in someone I know.
It may have been Pat.
No, I don't think it was Pat. I think it was someone else because they had Pat. I think it was Matt Eifler or something like that.
Off-season.
Well, bottom line, they need safety help as well. Who was it?
I'll look that up for you while you go through the pick.
Thank you. So they definitely need help at safety with the loss of Anthony Harris. Tight end needs help. They lose Kyle Rudolph. Irv Smith, the only guy there. And quarterback, Kirk Cousins is, he's aging. He'll need help eventually. So with this 14th pick, I think they take Christian Darrisaw, the offensive tackle. For me, offensive tackle is the weakest spot on this O-line. You just lost arguably your best guy there, I believe. So Christian Darrisaw, going to be a big guy you can plug in. He's a big boy too. I mean, you look at the size of this man. Nothing new. No one's going to be excited to match up with Mr. Christian, and I think that's a big thing for them. Trying to look at the stat here. It is 6'5", 314 pounds. I mean, this guy's huge. So at the end of the day, no one's going to be excited to go against Christian. I think bringing protection for Kirk, for Dalvin Cook, that's the key. So Darrisaw on the outside, I really like this move for the Vikings here.
Yep. And so release Riley Reef, and they traded a 6th round pick to the Cardinals for Mason Cole.
Mason Cole, okay. So that guy's kind of a stiff still, but he'll at least be on the team. So for New England Patriots, really good offseason. This list of team needs looks a lot different than our last mock draft before free agency. For me, their number one team need is still quarterback. I'm not sold on Cam Newton. I just don't believe in him. We'll see what happens this year. Wide receiver number 2. They have those guys, but they just had a bunch of mediocre guys in my eyes. I mean, Edelman's aging. I mean, Nelson Aguilar sucks. Kendrick Bourne could be solid. N'Keal Harris hasn't proven himself, so need there. Halfback, again, kind of similar thing. They just have a bunch of average guys. Damian Harris, Sony Michel, James White. I mean, a good group, but they don't have that standout guy. D end is a need. I think, that left side potentially they could use some help on. They really kind of have just vets like Henry Anderson, Lawrence Guy playing there. They could really use another guy there. And safety, specifically strong safety. I know they drafted Kyle Duggar. But
Yeah.
Patrick Chung did retire, so there's somewhat of a need. Devin McCourty getting up there Devin plays for City, so Devin, he's getting up there in age. You could always look to replenish. But for me, your favorite guy, and that's Kwity Paye, is going to for the first time enter my top 15. Look at the big man there. Just another good pick. I feel like that D line for New England is probably the weakest part of that defense right now. The secondary is pretty strong. Linebacking core really strong. So for me, Kwity Paye is just a good move for them. It gives you youth and on that D line, and I think they need that, especially that edge. Obviously, Henry Anderson, Lawrence guys, those guys are vets. They'll be good guys. Kwity Paye not under pressure to play right away. He can kind of take under those guys, learn from them, learn from Bill Belichick and that great, some of those great players on that New England team, like Matt Judon, that he'd be lined up on the same side of. So, me, Kwity Paye, really good opportunity in New England, and he's a great player as well. Mac gave the good scouting report on him, so I'll leave that to Mac there. 16, welcome Arizona, like you said, to draft day and to the Outside the Arena mock draft. They need guard help in my eyes. Obviously, they traded Mason Cole, so creating a need. They did trade for Rodney Hudson, the center from the Vegas Raiders, so good move there. They need D tackle help as well. Not the strongest point. They obviously have good, really great other members of that front seven. Cornerback, they released Pat Pete. They did sign Malcolm Butler, about 1 year deal. So once again, kind of a filler. Tight end, I believe like Max Williams is their starter, and Dan Arnold. I mean, those guys are whatever. Halfback, Chase Edmonds, really the lead back now. Definitely could use an upgrade. But for me here, pick is Caleb Farley. For me, he does fall. You had him also going to Arizona. To me, still above J.C. Horn. J.C. Horn, great pro day, but to me, you still got to take these top two guys, Surtain and Farley, before you dabble with J.C. Horn. There's a little bit more risk. I think Farley and Surtain are more sure things in my eyes. But Caleb Farley, great talent. Obviously having that surgery, but I don't think his draft stock will be too affected. Obviously, I do have him falling a few spots, so I don't think a team will potentially take him top 10, top 12. I think it's going to be more of this Arizona Cardinals team is going to come in, get a chance to get a young corner, which they don't really have right now. So to me, this is a great chance for them to get young and to get a player who, potentially is, it's kind of reminds me of the Isaiah Simmons situation. I mean, a guy who's ranked higher and you get him a little later than you potentially expected him to be there. So good move there. And if him and Simmons can pan out, that would be one heck of a secondary. Vegas Raiders. I'm getting tired. They need guard help. They need cornerback help. They need center help. I mean, they need a lot of help at those positions. Really don't have many guys there. Right tackle, another need for them. Left side, they traded Trent Brown, so they don't even got too much help there. But I believe they have Colton Miller, who will play one of those positions. I believe he's still on the team. I might be totally wrong. An outside linebacker for them. They do have Corey Littleton at the other side. I believe the right side, there'll be definitely a spot for them to get some help. So for me, for this one, that top need guard, I have them taking Elijah Vera Tucker. Really good player out of USC. If we dabble into the scouting report a little bit, he's a really good initial position kind of guy. He gets, movement at the point of attack, but you want to see in the run game, especially with the team that's going to be focusing on that with Josh Jacobs as well as Kenyon Drake. And, he's pretty smooth, average body control as well. And, he has a pretty good feel for the game. So that's kind of the guy you want. I'd say all around, doesn't really have a gaping weakness. So, might not be a superstar offensive tackle like a Penei, or offensive line like a Penei Sewell. But, he's a really good guy and a guy that, I expect to be a very quality guard in the league for years to come. So there's a little Senyek draft analysis for you, courtesy of ESPN Plus. Miami Dolphins picking at 18. They need some offensive tackle help for sure. Right now, they drafted that guy from USC last year, I believe, Austin Jackson. Hasn't quite panned out. Right tackle, not really sure who's going to be doing the duties there. Guard, another spot. The O-line really needs some help in general. D tackle, I went through these already, so I don't know why I'm already saying them. But bottom line, they're going to keep Greg Rousseau in Miami. To me, the best edge left on the board. Greg Rousseau obviously opt out, but you can't forget what this guy was doing before the opt out. He was fantastic. He was electric. 15.5 sacks, and tied for seventh that year in tackles for loss with 19.5. He's a redshirt freshman that year. This kid's a stud. I think it's a steal from Miami. They need edge help. You pair him across the side with Christian Wilkins, and this is a stud D line for me. You've obviously got the boy Andrew Van Ginkel. He's going to be stepping up his role this year on that defense with the release of Kyle Van Noy. So to me, pretty solid numbers of the front seven there. And for me, Greg Rousseau, just a good fit. And it's where you go here. You build on the trenches, and Miami, to me, since those top 3 tackles are gone, I'm not sure they go quite here for maybe an offensive tackle like a Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State. I feel like Greg Rousseau, keep him in Miami. I feel like teams like to do that. We saw that with, one that comes to mind, the Cleveland Browns, and goodness gracious, Denzel Ward. Football team, first 3 needs is clear. The left side of their team could use some work. Left tackle, since Trent Williams has been a hole. I believe, I don't even know who's playing there. I know Morgan Moses is on the right, but left tackle's a need. Linebacker, I guess that's a linebacker, but left side of their linebacker could use help. But linebacker, they do have Cole Holcomb, who I believe is a good player there. But other than that, not really a stud there. Left guard, another need. They need someone to pair with Sheriff, but obviously you do have Brandon Sheriff, and their center is very good too. I'm blanking on the name, but so the interior O-line is not necessarily a huge need. Quarterback, long term, is a need. Taylor Heineke, I'm not sure he's quite the franchise guy. We've really only seen 2 games from him. Obviously, he looked pretty good there, Mr. Heineken himself. And Fitzmagic is a 1-year kind of option. And tight end, I mean, I was looking at team need for me, tight end, just in terms of depth. Logan Thomas is a great guy. Outside of him, though, you really don't have anyone there. So the, lack of ability to run 2 tight end sets right now, which I think are so valuable in the NFL. But for me, Washington football team, they're going to go with an interesting pick here. A little bit of a reach here, potentially, with Azeez Ojulari, a linebacker from Georgia. And, I'm going to be honest here. A bunch of these linebackers, I think they're all in similar boats. You obviously have Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, good pronunciation there by my end. Zaven Collins, another good guy. And, obviously, Mr. Ojulari himself. I like him. To be honest, I don't know too much about him. I just like him. I like the name. I like the style. I like the play style. And, I think he's had success. Obviously, you mentioned how he had, lack of success against a guy like Tevin Jenkins. That happens to guys. I mean, we saw Chase Young really get caught up in a Rashawn Slater matchup. Was Chase Young a bust? No, Chase Young was fantastic. So I don't think we can get too caught up on these little matchups per se. Obviously, you want to see him have success. But at the same time, I think, Tevin Jenkins is just a great offensive tackle, and that happens sometimes. But for me, this is a good pick for the football team. I feel like it's just a Ron Rivera pick for me. I don't know. I just feel like someone who, has been there, has been in these big games for me. Obviously, you could look at Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah as another guy who has been in big games. But to me, I don't know. A guy out of Georgia, I just feel like it's, one of those picks where you could see something weird happen. So I went with something weird. I don't really have too much reasoning behind it, but I went with it. And lastly, the Chicago Bears, they need a quarterback. Andy Dalton, and it's just not the answer there. Safety help, obviously Eddie Jackson, the Pro Bowler, is fantastic. But you need a strong safety to pair with them, and right now they don't really have anyone. Right tackle, cornerback, and right guard finish out their needs. But this is where I have your boy J.C. Horn going. Not going to be in the top 10 for me, but J.C. Horn, 3rd best cornerback for sure. He has established that in my eyes as the top 3 corner in this draft. I think this is the right spot for him to go. I think he could have gone definitely higher, but it's just a matter of demand and what other teams need. And for me, this is just about where he's going to end up falling. Great corner, like you said, he ran a very fast 40-yard dash at the combine. And, he kind of has all the tools, 6'1", 205. So he's got size as a corner. He's not a little guy. You don't want to see one of these little guys. To me, he's just not quite there. I think he, some of his cover skills, ball skills, I feel like, he could use work in those areas potentially, but, he's great instincts, great speed guy, great durability, really, really productive when he's been on the field. So for me, J.C. Horn, 3rd best corner on the board, and I think the Chicago Bears will look to replace Kyle Fuller with J.C. Horn. So now, fading back to the 21 through 32, some different guys on the board than Mac had for sure. Number 21, Tevin Jenkins. To me, the Indianapolis Colts have a gaping hole at left tackle. To me, I think they could go edge and look for edge, but to me, they have options there. They have more options than potentially to place at left tackle, and I think you want to protect Carson Wentz. I think trading for Wentz, that key with him is giving him a great O-line, giving him tons of time in that pocket. So Marie, Tevin Jenkins, great offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State. You kind of went into some of the tangibles, but this guy's a big guy. He's 6'6", 320. He started 20 games at right tackle, 6 games at left. So obviously I'd have him, being a left tackle here. He's athletic, flashes good power. He's smooth. He tends to hold his ground as well, which you like to see. He's also a guy you can have depth. He's played both tackle positions. He played some guard as well. So, that's what, I like. He could end up being a guard, but, we'll see. I think they take a chance on Tevin Jenkins to play some tackle. 22, I have Kadarius Toney. This guy really has established himself as a great wideout threat. Obviously, we saw him play with Kyle Trask and that great offense. To me, he's the fourth best wide receiver on the board. Obviously, you can look at guys like Rashad Bateman, Terrace Marshall. I didn't let him down. Rondell Moore, I'm not as huge on. He's a small guy to me. 5'9". I'm not sold on it. I don't think it's necessarily what you want. I think you want a guy with a little size, a little bit of speed. I think Kadarius Toney is kind of the perfect fit. For this Tennessee team, they pair him against A.J. Brown. He'll replace Corey Davis. So for me, Tennessee definitely needs to look wide out for sure and need there. New York Jets, Najee Harris, it's just the right pick. You had him there as well. They need help at running back. They can't go into the season without a running back. And I think people who are mocking other players of this draft are fools. The Jets got to go with a halfback. I mean, they could wait and take one of those North Carolina running backs, Trevion Williams or whatever the other guy's name is. But they got to go with Najee Harris. He's the best running back in the class. Immediate guy. Obviously, without offensive tackle help, it could be a problem. So the Jets do need to make sure they prioritize offensive tackle help. But I think giving Zach Wilson and Najee Harris, you just signed Corey Davis, you're setting up the fundamentals for that offense for the future. And that's what I like to see from the New York Jets. So Najee Harris, definitely a smart pick. 24, I have the offensive tackle of North Dakota State, Dylan Raduns. Dylan's he's an interesting guy. To be honest, I don't know too much about him, but the one thing I know is that the Pittsburgh Steelers need a lot of help on the offensive line. I mean, that team need, if I had the team needs pulled up, it'd almost be the whole O-line. You see Pouncey retired, Villanueva, I don't believe they're going to be able to bring back. Their left guard, I believe, was Matt Leifler or whatever that guy's name was, Matt something, I believe. He's gone. So they need a lot of offensive line help. And, I think, they would love to go with the ETN here, but they can't. They got to go for offensive line because, this team, they have a lot of needs right now. They're in a really rough spot. They're going to have to pay a lot of guys next year. This team's in a rough spot. So I think establishing someone on that offensive line is key for them. Jacksonville, I don't have them taking your boy, the safety. I have them taking Zaven Collins, the linebacker, out of, I believe, Tulsa is where this brother went to college. Just going to confirm that on my little sheet right now. And yes, Tevin Cole. Wait, where is he? Give me a second. I'm going to find Mr. Taven.
It is Tulsa. It is Tulsa.
It is Tulsa. I just want to find him on the sheet. Zaven Collins. I called him Taven. Jesus. Zaven Collins, really good player in my eyes. He's really productive when he's been on the field. Obviously, Tulsa, not the highest level of competition, but he's shown, he has the stats. I mean, 85 tackles this past year, 1.5 sacks, 1 interception. You'd like to see more in that end in terms of the sacks and interceptions, but he's someone who the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be able to plug in to that linebacker core. They obviously have Joe Schobert, but to me, they need someone like a Zaven Collins to pair with him, get some pressure, and I think definitely this pick would be a defensive one. This team definitely could look there. 26, a little interesting guy that I've seen some of the experts and some of the really high-end guys like. So I decided to put him on my Cleveland Browns. OHIO, shout out to Stipe Miocic, who will be looking to defend his title tonight against Francis Ngannou. There we go. I got that. I forgot the last name for a second, or how to pronounce it. The second match, obviously, Stipe dominated the first one. I love the UFC. I know Mac's not as huge on it. I wish we could discuss it more, but we're not going to do it. Obviously,
I just got to get Sunday. I just got to get the pay-per-view.
Yeah, the pay-per-view. I mean, if it was not $100 essentially every time, maybe we'd be more into it. But I've really fallen in love with the UFC for sure.
Dad, if you're watching this,
you
my dad, we want to get into it, but he's like, I'll pay for the pay-per-view, but I'm not paying for the ESPN Plus, so we're stuck with not watching.
ESPN, the 5, he's fine with the 60, but the extra 5, it's where it dropped the line. But
it makes no sense, but
yeah. But bottom line, Cleveland's very own Stephen Miocic will look to defend his heavyweight title, the greatest heavyweight of all time in UFC history, man. So good luck to Stipe. But Jamin Davis going to go here, the junior linebacker at Kentucky. Look, I like this kid a lot. He's high. People really like his skills, his on-ball skills. He can do a lot. He's very versatile. You can move him around. You can, do whatever you want. He didn't play too much this year. I believe he only had 9 tackles and a pick. So I don't believe it. That's probably because of injury or something. But I do believe this kid has the talent. I believe he has, the potential skills to put it together. And a lot of the experts are high on them. So I'm going to listen to the experts and incorporate him. But I do believe the Browns need to go linebacker. Outside of, and they got some guys in the middle in that linebacker. They did sign Anthony Walker from the Colts, but outside linebacker is definitely a spot. So Jamin Davis can fill that hole. 27, the Baltimore Ravens. They need some help at the wide receiver position for sure. They obviously did go out sign. Who did they sign? They signed someone I know. They went out and signed. Sammy
no.
Watkins, they went out and
Yeah.
signed. But still, they need guys. And Rashad Bateman, such a talent. I mean, when this guy played his junior year or the year before at Minnesota, I mean, he was a stud there. He was lighting up the Big Ten corners. I mean, I remember when I don't know if they played Ohio State, but, some of those games, I mean, he was just lighting up, first, second round picks. So this guy's the real deal. I think, pro day, combine come along. This guy's going to reestablish himself. People have forgotten about him a little bit and his talent. But Baltimore needs a deep field threat that also has some size. Hollywood Brown, not the biggest size guy. For me, Rashad Bateman, a long-term kind of guy they can put there. 28, I like this pick. Terrace Marshall, another guy they're keeping in the state. I love these little keep in the state kind of things. And I think with some of these wide receivers, you want to do that. You want to get a guy who loves the area, loves being there. And Terrace Marshall's that guy. The fans are going to be excited about him. Great guy out of LSU. I mean, he can really do it all there. 6'4", 200 pounds. 48 catches, 731 yards, 10 touchdowns this past year. So this kid, he can score. He can do it downfield. I mean, that reception yard ratio, yards per catch. I mean, it's really good on that. It's 48 per 731. You're averaging almost, you're probably 15, 16 yards per catch. So that's awesome with 10 tutties on 48 catches. So almost, 20% of your catches, more than that, were touchdowns. So Terrace Marshall, really good kid, played on a really good team as well. But to me, I like the pick, and I think Terrace Marshall's just someone you can plug around and keep him in the state of New Orleans. But I agree, New Orleans needs a wide receiver to pair with Michael Thomas, and Terrace Marshall's that guy. Green Bay, this guy fell in my thing, and I think it just came out of need. I mean, some of these other teams, the Zayvon Collins, Jamin Davis, little weird picks, but Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I love this guy. 70 tackles and 5.5 sacks this year. He's great. He's so good. He has the experience. He's super productive. He's durable. Really has everything you want. Good recognition skills. But to me, he needs to get bigger and stronger. That's an issue. And I think that's why some of these other guys potentially go above him. To me, he's got to figure out a little more ways to get strength. I don't know if he's quite ready for the league quite yet. So that's why I had him drop down. But I think for the Packers, who need some outside linebacker help, I agree with you. They need cornerback, but for me, there's just not a cornerback who I love or would project to them at this point. I feel like they'd be more comfortable taking a strong outside linebacker to pair with some of those great guys. They obviously have the Smith brothers, but to me, this kid is, best defensive player on the board. So you got to take him. 30th overall pick. I believe you had this as well. So we have some similarities in the draft. Jalen Phillips, D-end out of Miami, like you said, went on the field. He's been great, would be a very highly ranked player, but just an inability to stay healthy. But the Bills do need edge help, so I feel like this is the move for them. Another guy, similarly, we had Alex Leatherwood to the Chiefs. There's a lot of good tackles here, but for me, I think the Chiefs, when they're going to be making this pick, are just going to be looking at experience and guys who have been there in the big stages. And for me, Alex Leatherwood, my voice is getting dead. He just fulfills that. He's played in those big games. He's gone up against that top-tier talent. He's played in college football playoff games. I mean, this is the kind of guy you want compared to, I don't think he's as talented as a Tevin Jenkins or those top 3 tackles. So that's why I have him going as the 5th tackle. But I do believe that, over some of these other guys, maybe like a Jalen Mayfield, or I guess I had Dylan Radunz too. But who knows? Dylan Radunz, I do believe, is a good tackle. I like what I've seen from him. But Alex Leatherwood, there are some concerns there. He hasn't been the best tackle, obviously, but I do believe coming from Alabama, coming from that system, he's just the guy you want. And 32, I agree with you. They're going D-line. Jesus. Jason Owa, the guy out of Penn State for me. This kid is so talented. Not the best stats this year, 4 tackles, 2 sacks. But to me, this is a kid who people have really been high on. And the Bucs, I think, could use some edge help. They obviously have Shaq Barrett. Not help, but I mean, I guess depth, I should say. You got Ndamukong Suh re-signed. He's not going to be there long-term. JPP, as good as they're aging. So you bring in Jason Owa, potentially a guy who's not going to play too much year one, but a guy who will provide depth on that D-line. You can probably slide to tackle. I mean, 6'5", 252. I feel like you could probably throw him at tackle. Maybe if he gets a little bigger, maybe he needs to gain 20 pounds or so to play some tackle. But Jason Owa, he's a valuable guy. He can get to the quarterback. And I think in terms of, DNs left on the board here and edge rushers left on the board, he's probably the best one. I think that's what they'll prioritize. I know you went D-tackle when Christian Barmore, but to me, I think they'll rather go edge. So for me, Jason Owa, the best guy on the board, that's who Tampa Bay will take. And I am done talking. I am exhausted. What a mock draft. This is a long-ass episode, too. I know it's like an hour and 20 minutes. So I think we can wrap this one up. We were talking for ages.
We almost had those final 3 picks the same. I was about to put Jason Owe too. I just snuck in that Christian Barmore real quick, but Jason, that 4.36 40-yard dash from a freaking edge rusher, like what?
I forgot to mention that. Yeah, really crazy.
Talk about that athleticism, but a lot of talking done today, so I guess we'll wrap this one up. And I guess before we wrap this up, as Griffin said earlier, next week, make sure to stay tuned. We're going to be doing some MLB stuff. We're going to do some predictions, award predictions, and really everything with the first week of baseball starting this week, of course, April 1st. So next weekend, baseball stuff will be coming out. And our NBA stuff, we're going to see how that goes, but especially our March Madness stuff. Clips. Please make sure to go subscribe to us there, like, comment, subscribe that channel, as well as here. We're going to be posting daily episodes, daily March Madness episodes on that channel over on OTA Clips. As I mentioned before, we're going to post something. Actually, it's Sunday when you're watching this. Make sure to go watch last night's episode and go watch today's episode as well. Make sure to follow us on our Instagrams. My Instagram is mac.rommel. Griffin's Instagram is
Griffin Senyek.
And our podcast Instagram is Outside the Arena Podcast. Make sure and feel free to reach out to us there with any ideas if you want to come on or anything like that. Because on our OTA Clips channel, we're trying to get some people to come on and talk some March Madness with us. So please feel free to reach out to us there if you guys want to come on. And as always, we appreciate you all watching. This was a long one, but if you made it till the end, we appreciate it, and we will see you all next week.